you know Spotify do those like your most listened to this year. Phoebe Bridgers had been his, and he'd posted it being like cute. And then when Normal People came out, she
like massively
said something like, "Whew, anyone else feeling horny?" And then hello and welcome to the SheerLuxe Team Podcast with me, Heather Steele. Today I'm joined by Sayer, Harriet Russell and Lu Hough. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Just before we start, we wanted to say thank you to Woodwick, who are kindly sponsoring the podcast today. We've got one of their lovely candles on at the moment and it smells amazing in here.
It literally smells so good. It's like really filling the room.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Polly's just said she's been influenced to buy one.
yeah, seriously, like not even joking. I am probably going to go buy one of those.
So this one's Fireside, and if you listen closely, you can hear it crackle.
Crackle.
That's their thing.
On the weekend, I was like, when we do the podcast, I'm definitely going to make a cup of tea and get some biscuits. And that would have been so nice to sit in front of the fire.
Well, you sat nicely, comfortable, hopefully over there.
For anybody watching,
Who thinks we're all massively away from Heather?
Yeah, I've also taken my shoes off.
Do it.
Yeah, this is my last podcast,
I was about to say, I can't believe it.
Yeah,
How are you feeling? So 4 days left in the office, is it? 5 days?
4 days left in the office. So by the time this comes out, I will have left. I'm really sad, but I'm really ready. I was like walking to the car, like holding my tummy. It feels like it's at that stage where like just might fall out. So yeah, I feel like no one needs to see me waddling around anymore.
You said on Thursday you think you're going to be really emotional though.
I think I definitely will.
I was thinking yesterday when I was sort of prepping for the podcast, I was like, I think I might actually cry when you go, because it's just like, do you know what I mean? Like, it'd just be very weird to be like, bye Lou.
Yeah. And I've been here for 5 years. Yeah. And it's almost really nice because it's like, you know, I'm leaving, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
So I'll still get to see everybody again. But I'm quite an emotional person and I just really love everyone. And it's really nice, like, you know, it's like coming to work and seeing your best friends every day and just hanging out. And I'm not going to have that. So I'm going to really miss...
Yeah, I'll miss you. Like,
it'll
be so
I think
weird.
also a lot changes at SheerLuxe in a small amount of time.
Yeah.
So I often think about the other girls who have gone off on maternity and what they haven't seen and what they must come back to. And all the changes. And
Who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Mainly new faces. Most of the
I know,
time.
but I can check in and I'm only around the corner.
I was going to say also,
see everyone
loves babies. So bring it in. Say hello. What have you been doing at the weekends, Lou, to kind of like, now you're saying you're not feeling up for like dragging yourself around?
So like proper chill. So this weekend we had a little wander actually around Battersea Power Station.
Oh, it's cool there, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I haven't been yet.
It's amazing.
Was it busy? Only because
it was busy.
That's been my sort of number one feedback from
But
people.
there was they've got a nice like merry-go-round, is that what they're called?
Yeah. Carousel type thing.
And it's really beautiful weather. There's quite a lot that hasn't opened yet, so I think there's a lot still to come.
Yeah.
But yeah, great stores,
It is good,
great
isn't it?
location, and
I think it's really put that area like back on the map a bit. Like there wasn't really much there before, like to do. Whereas now it feels a bit more like, okay, that's like a destination I would go and like have a drink, go and do some shopping. And like the stores that are in there are actually
really
quite good brands.
Which are the good ones then?
So like I think they've got a Reformation, they've got like a Chanel opening, things like that. We actually went the other night, like because I was just having drinks for someone's birthday in a pub nearby, and we were like, oh, should we just go there for dinner? We went to Le Bab, which was really nice. And then they've got it's really good. And then they've got a bar, I think, in there, which we didn't end up actually having a drink in, but Matt was like, I want to go and have a look because he works in the industry.
It's the boiler room, isn't it?
Yeah,
like the old control room.
The control room, that's it. And it's just so like Art Deco-y, like really kind of Wes Anderson vibe. But yeah, I think we'll definitely try and go back there.
Joe Malone is doing the ice rink this year.
I wonder if they were going to do an ice rink.
Yeah, it's Joe Malone Glide. So I think that opens this weekend. And then the lift that goes up and down the chimney, the glass elevator lift opens this week as well. So people haven't gone, Harriet.
Yeah.
No, more of an excuse to go now, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, we had a little wander around there and then just lots of TV and film watching. We watched My Policeman.
Oh yeah.
You weren't a fan, were you?
It is so appalling.
Did you think?
Did you like it?
I didn't. I thought Harry was awful, but I liked the rest of it.
I couldn't get past Harry being so shit. It's like the narrative and the rest of the actors, like we were trying to work it out and we were like, okay, what, like it's not actually that bad.
No.
But as soon as he opens his mouth for anything, like I don't know, he just shouldn't have not done his accent. And
Wait, what accent is he doing in it?
Yeah, because I wasn't sure. I'm not as familiar with him as a Harry Styles, the man, so I don't know what he's meant to sound like.
He's got a northern accent.
Yeah, he's from Cheshire.
Yeah. I know, but didn't it kind of get sort of beaten out of him in his One Direction America?
Yeah. I think he still speaks with a bit of an accent, but in Don't Worry Darling, he speaks with an English accent.
Even though he's supposed to be American.
Well, no, I think they kind of positioned him as a Brit.
Okay.
I think possibly because his accent isn't good enough. But then, what accent is he doing?
No accent, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
But then there's like twangs of it that come through.
Yeah.
Tell us the plot.
The plot is, we had to stop halfway because it was that appalling. Harry Styles' character is a policeman, and he starts to have a relationship with a male professor, and it's the first time that he's ever had a relationship with a man before. But he also is very fond of Emma Corrin's character, and they end up getting married, and it's kind of a bit of a shared relationship. Yeah.
And it's set in 1960s Brighton as well, isn't it?
And then it's sort of telling the story at the same time as them in present day, and they all end up living together. I'm not explaining it very well because I didn't really follow the storyline because
you weren't that invested.
Was so shit.
Okay, see, I did actually really like it apart from Harry, which is a shame because he's obviously a key part in it.
What did you like about it?
I don't know. I guess a lot of it for me was that it was all filmed around Brighton, so I was like, oh yeah, they are, they're doing this. And it was like, a love story at its heart and like trying to sort of work everything out. But I liked that there was like the present day as well. So it's got Gina McKee and Rupert Everett
I
as well.
I did not recognise. He looked so different.
Yeah, so they're in it as like the older characters, and they all come to live under one roof under strange circumstances, and then it's them sort of looking back to
I just
50
find
years back.
Sometimes when there's such a big name in a film like that, that's the real talking point, that I couldn't really see the storyline because I was so focused on Harry Styles having a shit accent, and that is, to me, is a real shame that then a movie is
you
so
need to be able
overcome.
to suspend your disbelief, and if you can't get past who it is, then it's pointless.
Did you see the end then, or did you stop halfway through?
No, we literally stopped halfway through because we were like, can we really endure this?
Yeah.
So we watched more of The Crown.
Oh yeah, let's talk about The Crown.
Well, talk about not being able to suspend disbelief.
Me and Harriet were moaning about this last week.
Into it as a whole, yes.
Okay.
I think it's a good series. Not into Dominic West as Prince Charles.
No.
I can't. It's Dominic West. His voice is the same. His hair looks the same.
There's the odd occasion where he'll do the whole like talking out the side of his mouth, which is very Charles, like yes. And all
but he does that as well, like
kind of. And most of the time, it's not consistent. So you'll get like flashes of Charles, and you'll be like, oh, okay, that's quite good. Oh no, he's lost it again.
No,
for me, it's not. I know you don't have to look exactly like someone to be that character, but I feel like with both Dianas, they've really nailed it. And then he just doesn't look anything like Charles for me. And I thought Josh O'Connor in the other series was so good, like looked like him, and just in general was just like the perfect Charles. And then Dominic West is like huge and like really muscly, and he's also about 10 years older than Charles is at the beginning of this series. And I don't know, just it didn't seem right.
I think Elizabeth Debicki, who plays Diana, is incredible. I think everything about her posture, her voice, her demeanour, like, is really quite startling. Actually,
in some of the outfits, it is like whoa, like
you get flashes, don't you? Totally. Oh my god, is that really her?
But the rest of them, I don't think their voices, like and their intonation, it's not like posh and like snooty enough.
No, Heather and I said Imelda's in and out. There are moments when there's a scene in sort of episode 5-ish or something, I can't remember exactly, but she's standing up doing a formal speech at a dinner.
Yes.
And she's wearing the big glasses.
Yes.
And I thought, you've nailed it. You've absolutely nailed it.
I watched that one last night.
She's just playing Umbridge from Harry Potter. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and the way that she walks as well, she just kind of walks. She doesn't, I don't know.
I know,
she hasn't got the Queen's physicality down at all. It's far too, I mean, the Queen wasn't a big person, as we all know, but she didn't have that like real dumpiness. Yeah. Sorry, Imelda. That somehow just doesn't. I just don't think it looks.
She just looks like a cute little granny, and that's not the Queen.
Yeah.
I do think Jonathan Pryce is good as Philip. Actually, I wasn't sure in the first scene, but the hair and everything the way he walks from behind, sort of stooping a bit. I'm like, yes.
There's a scene where he goes to Kensington Palace to admonish Diana and give her a talking to, and I thought that was very Philip.
Yeah, I think actually of all the series, his character has been the most consistent. Like,
Yeah,
the actors who I've enjoyed. I thought like Tobias Menzies
brilliant,
was incredible. Like
Matt Smith was really good, and I wasn't his biggest fan before that.
Yeah,
before
so I think that's like probably the only character I think they've maintained that throughout. But I don't know, I'm a bit disappointed with this one.
I'm still enjoying it from a like social history perspective. Like I always learn something.
And I don't know how much I need to rewatch Charles and Diana fighting.
Yeah.
It's not
Well,
nice.
I think that's obviously where there's so much of the controversy has happened. Because
of course.
It's, you know, it's still quite raw and quite, and P, I know you're really against it. Charlotte's massively against it. Like, you know, a lot of these people are still alive. And, you know, it's not a documentary. This is entertainment. And there's a lot of, obviously you can learn a lot from it, but equally I think you've got to be careful that like no one was there for that conversation. You don't really know what happened. So
it's becoming more uncomfortable to watch the closer it gets to like recent history, I think.
I think that's maybe like, well, I've never really watched much of it, but I think that's what I struggle with this series is like, oh, it's like you said, it's good to kind of learn about social history, but if we don't know that all of it is factual, then I then struggled to know at what point to draw the line between like believing it. And I think I read an article that Prince Philip, before he died, had tried to sort of sue basically because of some of the storylines weren't entirely accurate.
But, you know, a lot of what I think this series is showing, I can understand why William, for example, doesn't want the Martin Bashir episode re-aired. That was the one I watched last night.
Yeah.
And it was pretty awful. But at the same time, I can believe that most of that is...
Well, the interesting thing with that Bashir Panorama interview is that the BBC has not been allowed to re-show that interview since, because there were all these embargoes, and they agreed, like, yes, this was gotten through bad means, which you see even more starkly in the show. And then the Crown's allowed to show the people acting it out word for word.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, hang on, because it's not the original interview, so I can see why. That's like, well, hang on, there's been this agreement in place for a long time that they're not allowed to broadcast this. But then someone's allowed to do a reenactment.
Act out,
Have they said when it's going to stop?
No, we were talking about this, weren't we? Because in 2020, Peter Morgan, the showrunner, said there was only going to be 6 series. There's like a natural conclusion now, isn't there, now that the Queen's died? Because the show's always meant to be about a monarch's reign, and it's all about Elizabeth. So now that she's died, it feels like, well, surely they should just end it on that, and maybe
it's also
King
quite
Charles
convenient because
III.
they can't defame her now. You can't libel the dead. So,
but equally, if they did 6 series, that means that next series is basically they've got to cram about 20 years worth of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
So what, you think that they'll do a drama series right up to like the present, almost the present day? I just don't know that people
why
want
you wouldn't do that though.
But then why would you want to watch that?
No, I agree.
Like that show about COVID, what's it called? This England.
Oh God, yeah.
Why the fuck would anyone want to watch that? It was literally last year or something. I just feel like that again, like, I don't know, I kind of get the fascination with the royal family some time ago, but God, and like,
the first 2 series, like, it was so far away that you're like, okay, but now it's just, I don't know, and then you've got all the Harry and Meghan stuff.
Yeah,
it's just like,
but they're not going to be able to fit all of that into one series if they wanted to. I just can't see someone like Peter Morgan not wanting to show The Queue as an episode, do you know what I mean? So we'll have to wait and see, and we'll wait to see who does actually continue watching, because like I say, definitely getting slightly too close to home. Yes. Polly, have you been watching anything or reading anything?
Yeah, I watched the first episode of House of Hammer last night, which is the Armie Hammer documentary.
So fascinating.
So when I saw the trailer come out, I was like, oh my God, I want to watch that. So
it looks so juicy.
It was so juicy. So for those who aren't familiar with the kind of scandal, I guess it was a couple of years ago it came out that Armie Hammer has basically got some quite interesting sexual interests, which include, kind of BDSM, which is obviously fine. But it's, I guess the messages that have come out is he's quite controlling, and he is engaged in some quite dark activities and cannibalism. I think not necessarily he's done that, but he's expressed that that's something that's his interest.
Yes.
So yeah, there's I think a 3-part documentary on Discovery Plus, and initially I was a bit like, God, another thing to subscribe to. But I actually last night was home alone, and I was like, you know what? I want to watch that documentary. So I signed up to Discovery Plus, and it is really interesting. Like, it is super dark, and it's it's kind of more about, again, his wider family. So it's not just about Army the actor, but his grandfather, I think, is a big oil tycoon, and there's a lot of darkness in that family generally, sort of just the way they treat women and things like that. And it's just kind of fascinating how someone who is seen to be this kind of really handsome, gorgeous, successful actor can have this super, super dark side. And it interviews some of the women that were kind of really abused by him. And yeah, it's sad, but it's interesting, and I think worth a watch. So I'm going to continue tonight.
And isn't he like selling real estate in like Bermuda or something?
Yeah, he hasn't been. There's been no criminal charges put against him so far. It's tough watching at times.
It's really hard because I know you're meant to, or some people think you should be able to sort of disassociate someone who's acting with the actor. But Call Me By Your Name is one of my favourite films, and I tried to watch it more recently since these 2020 allegations or something, and I was like, oh no, I don't see him as this really handsome, charismatic character now. I'm just like, ooh.
It feels a bit seedy and
which is a shame because it's a great film.
I know, it's a real shame, but it just kind of goes back to that idea of rich man gets away with behaving like awfully, really, because he's rich and male. So I don't know, nothing has he's had no kind of consequences for it so far, other than like his
entire livelihood.
Well, there's that, but like actual criminal consequences, which I'm sure the women who were abused by him would like to see. But yeah, that's worth a watch. And I also watched Where the Crawdads Sing, finally.
Did you like it?
I actually loved it. I don't know.
Have you read the book?
Yeah, I've read the book, and I know there were like mixed reviews about it. But Matt and I watched it, and I was like, I don't know really what everyone was on about. I loved it. I thought it was a really nice story. Like, the way they'd done it was really nice and gave me the feels. I thought Daisy Edgar Jones was great.
Yeah, so I didn't love the book, but I did actually quite like the film.
Interesting.
I thought
That's
she was
interesting.
good in it.
Mostly it's not
the other way around.
I know, but I just really didn't like the book. But I was like, right, I'll go in to review the film with a sort of, neutral mind, and then really enjoyed the film. I think mainly because of Daisy Edgar Jones. I thought she was really, really good.
Great, isn't she?
Yeah.
I really want to see Aftersun.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing that tonight.
Which is Paul Mescal's new film, who obviously plays Connell in Normal People with Daisy Edgar Jones, and it looks like such a lovely story. I'm really excited to see it.
I'm really excited about it. It's a debut film by someone called Charlotte Wells, and it's about her dad and
I didn't realise it was autobiographical.
Yeah, so Paul Mescal's this sort of like 90s young dad, and then there's apparently this brilliant young actress who's playing the director, Charlotte. I think
about as well his kind of his mental health struggles as well. It just looks like a really beautiful.
It looks really
film.
I'm excited about watching it.
Apparently he's done a couple of interviews obviously in the lead up with the press with it, and he was saying that they spent a lot of time together, like pre-filming, to kind of really get that bond, a like father-daughter relationship. It looks really good.
I'm looking forward to the sort of 90s nostalgia of holiday resorts back in the 90s as well.
Oh my god, yeah, very back. Did you hear that Paul Mescal might be engaged to Phoebe?
Yes.
He actually confirmed.
Engaged?
Yeah, he's engaged to Phoebe Bridges.
Oh,
yeah,
I love that. Did you see all of their like getting to know you again, getting to know you stuff like back over lockdown?
Apparently she like thirsted him
out
on
she did, didn't she?
On Instagram when
like,
Normal People came out. Yeah. And he was like, actually, I really like you too.
Prior to that, Spotify do those like your most listened to this year. Phoebe Bridges had been his, and he'd posted it being like,
cute.
This
is
before
they got together.
Yeah, before they'd even met. And then when Normal People came out, she
like massively fancied
said something like, whew, anyone else feeling horny? And then he replied being like, good or something. And then they ended up doing like an Instagram live. They'd never met or spoken, but for some reason
we love that.
did it, and they're both flirting with each other.
What? So you can see them do the live?
You can still watch it now if you want to online. But
can you imagine looking back at when you first met your husband, wife, whatever? Also, he's a really good singer, so I hope there's some sort of duet at some point. Which I'd have to hear.
I would like. I don't know if they'll ever do like a wedding photo shoot or anything, but I'd like to see it.
I bet she'd pick a really fucking cool dress.
Yeah, and there'd be like a cool roll call of guests.
Oh
as well, I think. Cool. So we're going to do our new segment on the podcast, which we did for the first time a couple of weeks ago, where we basically have all read the Sunday papers over the weekend and all picked one article that we thought had a fun sort sort of, talking point attached to it.
So mine, I was really interested. It sort of came up yesterday in Sunday coverage that Estee Lauder is attempting to buy Tom Ford for $2.8 billion. That's a number that's just been mooted by the FT, although I read it on Reuters. And I just thought it was really interesting. When that number flashed up, I was like, oh, that's quite small, because I assumed that Estee Lauder was only buying the cosmetics, which are obviously like really popular. Then I read further, and it turns out they're buying or trying to buy the whole thing.
We should caveat this, shouldn't we, that we're recording this on Monday morning. Something might have happened by the time
they're
this goes out.
They're expecting a deal to be announced today, and that's interesting because the only sort of credible rival that Estee Lauder has in this bidding process is Kering, which obviously fits much more sort of traditionally into that whole like brand building conglomerate portfolio brands. This is interesting for Estee Lauder. I sort of wonder if their MO is that they're going to go in, and if they get it, they're going to close the fashion. I don't know. I mean, this is where Lou and Polly will have much more to offer than I do, but whether the fashion's just become a bit irrelevant.
Interesting.
To me, Tom Ford at his peak is his Gucci days. I think he was creative director from 1994 to 2004 and was really the reason that kind of Gucci is where it is now and really saved that business and really put them back on the map, and that whole kind of sexy, glamorous aesthetic, that is all Tom Ford. And I way, way, way prefer his collections in his Gucci days to his Tom Ford days. I think his filmmaking as Tom Ford has been incredible, actually. I mean, just so beautiful. Even though A Single Man, I think, is one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. But yeah, I don't know, the fashion is not, it's not my favourite brand to watch. I think the beauty is really amazing. What do you think, P?
No, I agree. I feel like I don't really think about Tom Ford's like ready to wear collections. I think.
Do you think it's like a post and pre Phoebe Philo thing? As in, he's doing the Gucci thing before that sort of revolution of like dressing for yourself and dressing women for women thing happened.
I don't know, because I feel like, when he was at YSL as well, like that was a very kind of sexy, glamorous aesthetic, and YSL very much is still that now. Yeah. So I don't think it's that look has gone anywhere. I think that kind of female empowerment look is actually is really strong. I don't know, it's not.
Yeah, I just think some brands that go through phases, don't they, of just not being the hot ticket.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether there's always like a really distinct reason for it. It's just that like, some others are the ones that people want to wear, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't really know many people that have been like, oh yeah, I really want that Tom Ford jacket or whatever. But the beauty is clearly
that's the
booming, and I see a lot of like activity with that. I still think like the beauty.
Well, that's my big suspicion with this whole thing. And I was saying to Heather earlier, my big worry is like, if they're successful, not only do they shut down fashion, but do they start changing formulas, shades, perfumes, whatever it might be, like to fit their aesthetic.
He also has a makeover series. I'm sure you can find them on YouTube, where he basically took everyday guys, like I think there's like a carpenter, and gave them like the Tom Ford makeover, and the transformation is incredible. So yeah, that's definitely worth watching. You can kind of really see his, like how he puts his touch on gentlemen and kind of really transforms their look. In a similar vein, I read, it was actually last weekend, a piece in the Time supplement by Anna Murphy about finding your fashion tribe.
I love this.
And how our kind of fashion choices reflect us, whether we really meant them to or not. And how obviously in the past kind of things like jewelry and things like that represented your Celtic tribe, whatever. And now we buy into pieces. And I think you kind of think you're buying a coat because you really like it, but actually you're buying into that totem tribe that everybody on Instagram is wearing. And I don't know, it got me thinking, like, it's so interesting that we think we really want something and you're like, do you? And I think for a brand as well, like, it's obviously great to have so much exposure and have that hot piece that everybody wants. But when you do that, you kind of lose your exclusivity. Yeah. And then when everybody has it is it kind of tarnished as a brand that, you know, everyone has it, then High Street is ripping it off.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, the rip-off.
Yeah, is there kind of a line where a product becomes too popular or a brand becomes too popular and actually it's detrimental?
Yeah, I wonder how they see it. I was talking to a friend about this the other day, about like High Street rip-offs of designer pieces and how I feel slightly conflicted about them because, you know, it's obviously something I don't agree with, where people's designs are directly ripped off, but then at the same time my friend made the point that like, oh, these big designers are sort of semi-grateful for that kind of I don't know, behavior, because it then highlights them as the one that really everyone is coveting,
the originator.
Yeah, so kind of it's all that comes back to that, you know, all press is good press, all kind of publicity is good publicity.
Lagerfeld used to call it like the best kind of flattery or something.
Yeah, imitation is the highest form of flattery, that kind of thing. So I don't know, and I kind of feel the same way about like of trying to take a step back sometimes, and often I like buy something and I think that it's like, I don't know, something I've been like, oh, that's just really nice. And then I start seeing lots of it around Instagram and I'm like, maybe it's just like a subconscious thing.
Yeah,
where I
and
like
do you
bought
actually
that,
like it?
Because I've seen it but haven't like consciously recognised that it's because I've seen lots of people wearing it. And then I'm like, oh, that's why I wanted to buy that.
But in the same way that it can really ruin something when you see something too much and you're like, I cannot... Like, I feel like I cannot wear my Celine. I mean, I actually can't wear my Celine belt anymore. When I first got it, I was really excited to wear it. And that's really sad that kind of that overexposure to it, to me, just, it kind of loses its magic touch.
Yeah, it's a tricky one,
and maybe that's
isn't
where
it?
the high street plays a role, because if something's going to trend, then I don't necessarily want to spend like over £1,000 on something that I can only wear.
But that is the fashion industry, you know.
Do you buy into a tribe?
I think there's probably, like, kind of, as you said, I think I'm drawn to certain items sometimes, and I can't work out if that's because I genuinely really like it or if I like the look of it, and I like, you know, a lot of fashion as well. It's kind of about like creating that like lifestyle, that essentially that association to a product of okay, if I buy that, I'm gonna look like that, I'm gonna have like that's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, but then I feel like because of my job in the industry that we're in, you kind of have to take yourself back and be like, oh, do I? And I really think about purchases before I get them, and I think sometimes waiting a little bit for a trend to settle to then be like, do I actually...
Can I say my new Bash boots are a perfect example of this?
There we go.
In that for years, I mean, I watched SheerLuxe like long before I worked here, and everyone has these boots, right? Like, how many people in the office? Like, at least 6 of us have these boots in different colours and what have you. And there's a famous BTS episode where Charlotte goes and finds a pair at the charity shop.
Yes,
like, brand new.
I found those.
Yeah, 35. Anyway, old time fans will remember. And I have literally had these boots bookmarked since I started watching, which is probably 2017, I'm going to say. So best part of 5 years. And I bought these last week. And mainly because they were via the Outnet. Thank you.
Oh, we love the Outnet.
We love the Outnet. For sort of half the price. So that was definitely a winner. But at the same time, it is definitely that thing of like, am I buying these because I actually like them? Or am I just trying to fit into some like work tribe because everyone
but I
has
feel
them?
like that's like such a long amount of time that it's obviously like, no, I really like the shoe.
I'm like,
and the
I loved
boots.
them 5 years ago as much as I love them now.
That's your tribe then. Bash, your new tribe.
Well,
Bash.
I think SheerLuxe is my tribe.
There we go. There we go. So yeah, the one I was going to talk about, it was in the Observer, and it's kind of again like this more of this sort of cost of living stuff, but with restaurants, and how do you sort of navigate the two about still going out and enjoying yourselves, but obviously not spending as much money. And this one was all about how chefs and restaurants are getting inventive and how the rise of the sharing restaurant dish is back. So I wanted to know, how do you guys feel about sharing food in a restaurant setting?
Totally depends on the company, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I would say I'm unsure of how this sits with saving money, because I don't know about you guys, but whenever I go for a sharing meal, you end up spending
way more.
so much more
Totally
money.
agree.
The waitresses will come over and be like, you probably need like 5 or 6 dishes per
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
And you're like, what
Do we?
do we? But, you know, when you've got, again, kind of to your point, it depends who is there.
Yeah.
If there's a lot of taste buds to consider, then you end up accruing so many different dishes and nothing really blends. And in a kind of COVID is still around. I don't really like the hygienicness of
everyone's fingers on the chicken.
Yeah, and like I don't know, dipping in and out, and you never really get a full plate, and you come home and you're hungry, but then you're not really sure how much you've eaten.
I guess for you, because you're mostly vegan, it doesn't really feel like a fair division of food, whereas like I personally don't mind sharing because I will eat most things, so I usually feel like quite satisfied by the division. But I suppose if you're going out with people who eat meat or eat cheese and things like that, and you're just like, oh well, I'd maybe just rather get my own meal so I can eat more.
But I also feel like regardless of your dietary requirements, there's always a good dish and then the bad dish, and it's never then like equally shared between everybody.
That's true. I do think this is more about sharing plates rather than small plates to be shared, if that makes sense, because there's nothing new about like small plate sharing, but I think it's just more like you'll get this main course and you'll share that between two. Those sorts of things.
So like,
I think it's quite an American thing. Whenever I'm out with my sister lives in the US, and whenever I'm out with her and her friends, the whole like, oh, this is my main course, my starter, my dessert, it's like complete anathema to them. They'll be like, oh, should we get the beef and like all share it? And it's like, I can remember going out with them the first time and being like, what am I going to eat? Like,
and it was really so big in America. Exactly. It's probably a good thing that they share them.
But then they'll like stagger the meals. So like they'll order one dish and all share it, and then they'll be like, okay, so now should we try the whatever? And you're just like, what? Where am I?
We're going to be here for hours.
It's really not very like British. It's but yeah, I think from a cost of living point of view, it can be interesting. I had two American friends come and visit me, and we went to the River Cafe, and they did this whole sharing thing. I kind of went with it, and actually our bill was probably like a third.
I was going to say, I think especially somewhere amazing but expensive like that, it's probably just
make sure you have you just share a main course.
Yeah, we had.
So in turn, you just eat less.
Yeah, I think you just end up eating less. But it's it is a weird concept to kind of get your head around, and also the servers don't particularly love it. I think they're always like, "What are you guys trying to do?"
It's true.
But yeah, I think my share of the bill that night was like £60-something, which at the River Cafe is really not that bad.
No, not. So would you share like say 3 dishes between 2 or like 4 dishes between 3 or something?
Exactly.
I think that's quite, especially when it's pastas as well. Like in Italy, that's what they do anyway, don't they? Like order 3 pastas for the table and then move on from there.
And I do quite like the idea of like, being able to try maybe like a couple different things, because sometimes I really like, my worst thing is getting like food FOMO at a restaurant, like ordering my one thing and then looking over my friends and being like, damn, that is so much better.
The only time I feel it's acceptable is pudding.
I was just about to say sharing pudding's always been a good thing,
because I feel like whenever you look at a pudding menu, there's always probably like 3 you like, and you're like, oh, I don't know, it'd be nice to have like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I feel like it's more, I would get on board for pudding, but
right, so you've just got some time for some reader questions. Does your style change throughout the week, or do you stick to one overarching style?
I think rather than have a set day or like a style that kind of changes throughout the week, I think my style and what I wear to work is very much dependent on what we're doing that day. So whether I've got lots of meetings, if we're filming the show, if I've got a shoot, that probably more dictates it than a day of the week. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think actually I've started to just come out mentally of a real like style slump, where I feel like I'd accrued kind of a certain number of clothes or pieces like right before lockdown, and then none of that got worn. So I've sort of slowly worn through that stuff. But you were saying this earlier, weren't you? Like a lot of that stuff's got quite bad juju against it, I feel. And then, like, these boots are new, these jeans I inherited from my mum this weekend, and I just feel like, I don't know, I'm wearing my hair down again, I feel like a new person. So I don't know, I feel like, I go through phases with it, I have to admit, and it's probably the same as Lou. If I know I'm on the podcast, then I'm going to be filmed, so I try to look a bit different each week, whereas if it's just a Monday where I'm not filming, and Mondays are my busiest days because there's just so much to catch up on. It is definitely instinctive, and it's not a set pattern that I follow.
You're not like, right, it's Monday, I'm in the office, I'm doing this, or maybe you are a little bit more because you're not in as much.
I definitely on the days I am in the office, I obviously make a bit more of an effort because I'm not in every day. But no, so I feel like some days I feel a bit more like boyish and a bit more relaxed. Then some days I'm like, I just feel a bit more like feminine today, and I want to wear like a mini dress and some boots. So I don't know whether it's always dependent on like the day, like specifically, but just like as you said, like kind of how I feel. that day, and I think that's kind of fun.
I basically wear the same thing every day, regardless of what the hell's going on, and just
you
ride it out.
Leave so early and you get back so late. Do you plan more? Do you think?
No, sometimes I go through stages of the night before being like, oh, what am I going to wear tomorrow? But more often than not, I'm sort of lurching through my wardrobe in the dark because my boyfriend's still in bed, and I'm like, which dress today? Put some lipstick on the train, and
but then you have such a specific personal style. I think that's probably quite easy. You're quite a uniform dresser.
Tight.
Well, and then you know that anything you grab is always going to work.
That's kind of the idea. I'm trying to get more on the board with Polly with the sort of lighter coloured tights, because I was getting very depressed by looking at photos. You know, when you got really black tights with other things, it doesn't quite work. But no, going down the denier scale.
Would you ever wear like a polka dot?
I've got some, but I ladder tights straight away, and all those nice polka dot ones are like £15 plus sometimes, and I only really get one wear out of them. So
they're often really thin, those ones.
Yeah, that's what I'd wear all the time. I think if I wasn't so clumsy, I can't afford to keep buying new tights every day, unfortunately. Yeah. And then final question: when is it acceptable to put up the Christmas tree?
First week of December.
First week of December.
First weekend of December, I guess, in the sense, we do that every year.
Yeah.
It's kind of linked to my birthday, so my birthday is the 7th of December, so it's always generally the weekend before that.
Oh, that's nice. Lou?
Yeah, I'm saying first weekend of December.
I think any time after Halloween.
I was like, thank you, someone said something different. I was like, oh, this is going to be very boring. We'll say the same.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like
you got anything up yet?
I mean, I haven't put mine up yet.
I don't feel Christmassy at all
but
yet.
As soon as Halloween is done, I'm like, Mariah's out.
So when are you going to put yours up?
I think we might do it in the next couple of weeks. Like, we were looking at our calendars, and we're very much like as early as possible in December. And Matt was like, oh gosh, the first week of December falls on like the 5th or something. Like, maybe we should do it the week before to really maximise the time. And that's when I knew he was the one for me. I honestly just love the ritual of like going and getting your Christmas tree. And especially if you go away for Christmas for like to see your family and you're not at home, you really want to maximise the time you've got with the tree. And honestly, I'm a firm believer in whatever makes you happy. And if putting your decorations up, actually, I was driving home on Friday night in an Uber through Surbiton, and some people had their lights up outside, and it literally put the biggest smile on my face, because I was just like, Christmas is good.
There are loads of lights up on my street already.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually haven't heard any Christmas songs yet on the radio.
No, not yet.
My friend almost put one on Saturday. She put Mariah on, and we were like, no, turn it off. Too early, too early.
Scroogy.
What about you, Heather? When would you do your tree?
Like, I'm not very Christmassy, but I do like putting up the tree and stuff. I like all my decorations, but I think like middle of December for me. Like, I don't like to live with it too much, and also we like to get a real one. So otherwise, by the time it gets to Christmas, it's drooping all over the place. So
I think like Victorian tradition is to put it up on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I mean, I want to. Like same as Polly, I never spend apart from the last 2 Christmases, didn't spend them at home. So you want to sort of enjoy it before you wrap things up and go off to your parents.
Like I just love that. Like when you come home from work and you put the Christmas tree lights on.
Yeah. So I reckon, maybe the 3rd weekend in December.
Third weekend?
Well, that's late, Heather.
So late.
Oh, well, maybe I'll revise it. See how festive I'm.
You have to work
meet in the middle. Go second.
There we go. Okay, fine. Thanks, Grace. Well, Lou, thank you for
thanks, guys.
Podcast in ages.
Say goodbye to the viewers.
Oh, bye, everybody. I will. Yeah,
it's been real.
It's been real. I think it's about to get real.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna miss you a lot. Yeah. So good luck with everything.
I'll be listening. I'll be sending through my questions.
Write your comments.
Yeah.
What's your favourite biscuit?
Where it's Lou Hough.
You'll know when it's me.
Oh, thanks, Lou. Well, thanks you too as well. And thank you for listening and watching. If you've got anything you would like to say to us, please email us at podcast@sheerluxe.co.uk. We love hearing from you. And please do rate, review, subscribe and tell your friends. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.